Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome back to round number 8 of the Virtual Motorsport Online Touring Car Championship for 2024. Oh, what an amazing season we've had thus far, and we still have 3 more rounds of amazing racing ahead of us. My name is Chris Buxton. I'm one of your commentators for tonight's festivities. As you can see on screen, we head back to Donington Park, this time for its full GP layout, for more amazing action from our touring car competitors. Joining me in the box, always happy to say, Alex Newman returns to my side. Hello, Alex. We're in for a good night's racing.
Always are. Well, I'm definitely around you and with the TCUK lots here. Again, this is our 3rd time, technically,
yes,
returning to Donington, and both rounds so far have never failed to disappoint. Obviously, this is the longer track. It's not that much longer, just including 2 new corners compared to what we would usually see on the other layout. But obviously we are currently at Donington Park here on the 2nd of October, followed then by the penultimate round at Silverstone for the national layout on the 16th of October 2024, then followed by the final rounds on a brilliant circuit, one of my favorite UK circuits, Brands Hatch GP, on the 30th of October.
No argument there at all. Brands GP and touring cars, well, pretty much anywhere with touring cars, is an amazing combination. Right, Dan Herlock still leads the way in the championship, although his championship lead was certainly diminished, as sliding into 2nd place, Callum Cripps as a Pokemon. Dan Herlock on 291 points, so one hand on the championship, but with 3 rounds to go, he can still be usurped. So Callum Cripps in 2nd on 228, and then just 10 points behind him is Gianmarco Fiduci. Bearing in mind that Gianmarco Fiduci didn't do 2 rounds. He didn't do Thruxton and wasn't with us in Oulton Park, and is still only 10 points off of 2nd place. It's still well in with a shout of those top honours. And then only 7 points further behind him is Matt Richards, 211. Then a further, quick maths, 13 points behind him is Thomas O'Leary. So really close in the top echelons of the championship. So it is still all to play for, and we have got, there was 24 or 26, I think, competitors, 24, I beg your pardon, that were taking part in qualifying last I checked. So we've got, again, a big field of cars ready to roll.
Indeed. So in pole position, sorry to cut you off there, Luke Mitchell in the Drake Racing car with a 131.9, which is going to be the best lap time by quite a way, actually, as P2 is Tom Hackett in the Hyundai of the CRS X car Esports car with 132.1. So again, 2.5 tenths roughly off P1. Adam Christopher P3, as well as then Scott Mitchell Malm in P4. Thomas O'Leary P5. Daniel Herlock P6. Cameron Brewster P7. Gianmarco Fiduci in P8. But I'm starting to be a bit misled by his qualifying times at the moment, as well as Ben Willis in P9 and Mitch Murray rounding out the top 10 there.
Yes. Yeah, carry on.
Following on then, Callum Wilson in the Richardson Racing car with a 132.5, taking P11, followed then by Jordan Richardson in the Vapor Shield Racing Honda, followed then by Cedo Wyatt in P13, followed then by Matt Richardson P14, Callum Cripps in P15, Jeffrey Fournier in P16, Matty Allington in P17, Alan Smith in P18, George Davis, I believe, a new car. I don't believe we've seen him yet, then followed by Jack London in P20. And then finishing the order then in P21, it's going to be Samuel Dalman in the Vapor Shield Racing Honda, followed then by Patello in the Grove Racing Team Vauxhall, Ty Cuthbert in P23, and Max Spooner in P24.
Max Spooner was a bit of a late joiner to qualifying anyway, indeed correct, yes. Mr. Davies, new to the season. So it's good to see that we've had some fresh blood joining. A few names have kind of come and gone over the course of the season. But it's still good that we're still getting a lot of interest in this season, and this season is proving to be an absolute barnstormer. But yeah, Dan Herlock not getting onto the front row, not even close. 3rd row. Okay, 6th isn't that far back in kind of meterage terms, but it's, again, when you've had such early success in the championship, it's difficult to imagine Dan Herlock not starting towards the real sharp end, but that is where he finds himself, starting in 6th position, championship leader. So, but as we've said, he doesn't necessarily need to win every single round, just needs to continue to keep scoring, scoring very, very well. But the last few rounds have not been as consistent as he was earlier in the season. So, I mean, he has scored a podium, at least one podium in every single round. True. So every single venue, I should say. But take Snetterton, for instance, he was second in the first race and then only scored 3 more points over the next 2 races. So, the consistency really did let Dan Herlock down last time around. Again, he does, like I said, he still has a healthy lead, 63 points separates himself from Callum Cripps, but that is not insurmountable. He could still be caught. So we'll have to see if he is able to recapture that early form. Now, something else also to bear in mind, we've reverted back to having 2 tyre compounds. For the last couple of races, we've enjoyed 3 tyre compounds, being the soft, medium, and hard, to give them a phrase. We are reverting back to having the option and the prime tyres. So we're reverting back to the rule of only the option tyre may only be run once per event. So most people, it's a bit of an even split this time. Most drivers opting to use their option tyre in their first race, but not by many more than anyone else. So of the 26 that had originally registered to take part in this in tonight's race, or races, 10 had opted to run their option tyre in race 1, 9 in race 2, and 7 in race 3. So it's actually fairly even. We have seen some quite but some people using their option tends to be more towards the end of the racing festivities, but more people going for an early option race. Whether that is indicative of anything, whether that's personal choice, we will have to wait and see. We have seen the option tyre do very, very well here in Donington Park, but this is the first time we are running the GP layout. So instead of using the chicane, as we're just looking down the start-finish straight now, instead of using what's referred to as the Roberts chicane, so at the end of Starkey Straight, they would turn right and then left over the start-finish straight, they turn left and right, which is referred to as the fog ETSs, down to the Melbourne hairpin, which is off-camera to the right, as we currently look at it, and then back up towards the hairpin section. Then it's the 180-degree left-hander referred to as Goddard, then it's over the line. So there are more kind of heavy cornering, heavy braking going on. May well wear the tyres out a little bit more. Could be why more people are running the option tyre early. We will have to wait and see.
What I did infer from last Donington's race, and you could probably say there's a tiny bit of a pattern in terms of the tyre usage. The people who are most likely at a vulnerable point of the tyres degrading at a faster rate are going to be the people who are going to be at the middle of the pack, because they're obviously having to try balance both defending and attacking at the same time. But again, as you were mentioning, with the extra 2 corners that you now have going on into this layout of the corner, especially with them being both practically 180-degree corners, hairpins, you could say as well, is going to test the tyres again. It is going to be quite degrading on them. So I'm starting to think most people are going to be using, even though it's quite even, most people who are using them in the first race are probably just trying to get rid of them, because I believe it's not going to be the greatest tyre choice for today's festivities.
We will have to wait and see. We have been proven wrong with the tyre guesses in the past, so we'll have to wait and see how things transpire when we do head down to our first race of the night. So we are just waiting for the session to come together, all the drivers then to be ready. Then we will get our first race of the night underway. Now, as mentioned, we have been to Donington a couple of times. First time was supposed to be our opening race of the season. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to count that as our first event. So we then reran at Donington later in the season, again in its slightly shorter, the national layout. But now we return for what will be the final time this season for the GP layout. So I love this track. I've been to it several times. I'm a big fan of this place. It's great fun to work at. It is great to watch any kind of action. You can see quite a bit of the track as well from sort of where this camera currently is, which is the national layout, you see the right-left chicane there being used, which is the Roberts chicane. And the camera now actually looking, you can see the undulation change, and that is not exaggerated. It is a great flow that you get here at Donington Park, which also means when it rains hard, down there at the old hairpin, which is, as you can see, that competitor on this video has just gone through, gets absolutely flooded. It becomes a swamp down there because all the water just runs straight down to that particular point. They have improved the drainage of Donington Park over the years, but it's still, gravity will still tell, and that becomes an absolute lake. Cars are good, race cars do not float.
Oh, we found that out quite a few times, especially at Monaco. There's a F1 reference in there, if you know. But what I found, there's a new reference that I'm definitely going to be using today. That Mr. Chris Dawes, another fellow sim racing commentator and motorsport commentator, of referring to the gravel as kitty litter.
Yes.
So I found that really good, actually. But we do see now the grid is starting to formulate for the first race of the night. All 26 cars, I believe, that we have on the grid here for the night, just now all spawning in onto the grid. Obviously, we do have that formation up just for the drivers to warm up their tyres. Obviously, the people on the soft tyres need to be a bit less aggressive on how much they are weaving compared to what we can see with one of the Richards Co cars, who already is starting to do a bit of weaving to try and get those tyres a tiny bit warmer with friction there.
All right, so the drivers running the option tyre for the race, or those that had registered to run their option tyre for this opening race, are Dan Herlock, Matt Richards, Sam Dowman, Luke Mitchell, who is our pole sitter, Cameron Brewster, Gianmarco Fiducci, Nathan Croker, who isn't with us, Jordan Richardson, who else? Tom Hackett, Adam Christopher, I was going to say Tyler Cuthbert, but that's wrong. Dan Kell's not with us. Matthew Lee, I'm not sure if Matthew Lee's not with us tonight. And finally, Jeff Fournier. So with those that aren't actually here taking part, we're almost going to have kind of an even spread over our three races. Now, again, those that may be unfamiliar, the drivers have to register what tyre or which race they're going to run the option tyre in before the event begins. They cannot decide after a given time. They must declare it at the beginning of the event. So they can't just randomly change their mind and run it at a different time. They must declare it right at the beginning. So we are watching then Luke Mitchell and Tom Hackett leading the field through towards the Melbourne hairpin. Sweep round to the right. Sweep round to the left. Still plenty of tyre warming going on. Then Christopher and Tom O'Leary on row 2. Good effort there from Adam Christopher. Currently sits in 15th in the championship, joined with Mitch Marie. Mitch Marie is a race winner. He took the final win actually here at Donington and the national layout when we were here a few meetings ago. Now the field just coming out of Goddard's, which is the final left-hander of this layout, into their positions they form. Matt Spooner being the last one to take their position. Right, 14 laps then of race number 1 to open up tonight's festivities. Let's get it going then. Mitchell on stage left, Hackett on stage right. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to have the greatest start? Who's going to be bravest on the brakes coming down towards Redgate? And we are racing for the first time tonight. That's a very good start. That's a storming start from Tom Hackett. Absolutely superb. He's already got ahead of Luke Mitchell. And that's Adam Christopher on the inside line of Redgate. Can he get it done? Not quite. He made the move, but he couldn't quite get the overlap. Oh, yes, he can, because that's a bad exit from Redgate for Luke Mitchell. He's down into third, and Tom Hackett is making hay with the sunshine's already gone so several car lengths. Now it's going to get all kinds of busy. Coming down to the old hairpin for the first time in Angus. Gianmarco Fiducci has made a few spots up in the fifth. Well, bit of a punch in the face there for Cameron Brewster, and that's someone off into the dust. Who was that? That's Sam Dowman in the Vapor Shields Civic that has gone down to last, bouncing over the grass. I think that's Alan Smith. That is now down in the Cupra, in the Craven Racing Cupra. That's a shame for him. The number 92 car now down at the tail end of the field. But up top, it is Tom Hackett from Adam Christopher, and Adam Christopher in the quartermaster car, very, very close to the CRX X-Cut Esports car right ahead of him. They remain where they are as they come through the fog at the S's for the first time in anger.
Quite an eventful start of the race, to say the least, now as we do see Hackett now still trying to beg for mercy from Christopher, as Christopher lunges for the inside line going into the Melbourne hairpin. Isn't going to be able to make a move just yet, but we will have to see if Tom Hackett will be able to withstand that pressure for the entire 13-14 laps left of racing that we do have tonight, as we do go into Goddard's for the first time for tonight. Tom Hackett already maintaining what is going to be a 6/10 gap between him and Christopher, as we do see further down in the grid as well. Not too much going on, and I say it, and then Richard Kokar going unfortunately off, going off into Goddard's. That is going to be Callum Wilson, unfortunately going to lose quite a few positions there as he goes down into P14 now, but I'm sure he will be able to make those positions up again, as we do see one of the Vapor Shields cars, I believe that is, starting to make some moves there. But Cripps actually going down into P20, just wasn't able to update for me there, so not a great start there from Mr. Cripps there.
No, indeed, second in the championship. That is not ideal for him, as we now cut to Cameron Brewster, who is in 7th position at the moment. Oops, someone went a little bit too deep going through the old hairpin, but lives to fight another day. It's on. That's a big old slide from Cameron Brewster in the Drake car. We now cut back to Matt Richards in the Vapor Shield Civic. He has got his mirrors absolutely full at the moment of Jordan Richardson in the number 52. So again, they're teammates, so they won't want to fight each other too hard. But again, racing drivers are going to fight. They're right behind the Vapor Shield Civics. Isidro Vaya in the Brabham car. Callum Wilson is there. He's just lost a spot actually in the BMW. They're side by side. Oh goodness me, bit of a wiggle there. Is more flashing the lights from Callum Wilson. He's not happy at all, but right behind him, that's another spot. That's Ty Cuthbert. That's trying to make some positions. Lots and lots of side-by-side coming through the Melbourne hairpin. Oh, my goodness me. It's too many things going on at once to call them all.
Oh, my God. This is starting to get a tiny bit of attention. Ty Cuthbert just trying to gain as many positions as he can off the start of the grid here, as we can see going through Goddard's. Once again, he is able to make one position up, as it seems. But from the start of the race, he has made a substantial amount of positions up here. Now we see Patello as well behind him, trying to lurk and just try to continue to try and, again, stay a safe race while trying to collect scraps. But what's interesting between the top two, both Hackett and Christopher, Hackett being on the prime tyres, and then we do see Christopher's going to be on the option tyres, and we do see Hackett's actually still pulling away, even though Christopher is going to be in probably the prime part of his tyre life for those soft tyres. So that is going to be something that Christopher might be struggling with even more when it comes to that part of the tyre where it's just so degraded to the point where he's going to be losing so much time here. But we do see now Fiducci now all over the rear of one of the championship contenders, Mr. Daniel Herlock in the RSR BMW, as they go side by side going down into the Fogarty S's once again. But we do see again just Fiducci lurking, trying to look to gain this position, but Herlock will not make it easy for him.
No, certainly not. Dan Herlock wasn't necessarily defending too hard. Again, even though he doesn't necessarily need to defend every single position, he doesn't want to slide back too far. He doesn't want to really jeopardize his championship charge. Gianmarco Fiducci is in 3rd in the championship, so he really doesn't want to be conceding any points to the Italian ace. But Dan Herlock is still kind of thinking the longer term game, doesn't want to do anything silly and then catapult himself right the way down to the back of the field. New fastest lap then from Adam Christopher, 32.257 for the quartermaster car. Very nicely done. As we look at Joel Patello on the back of Max Spooner then in the next of the quartermaster cars. So no matter where you're looking, that is always the joy of touring car racing. There are battles throughout the field. On the Patello's case is Jack London. He flirts with the dust on the outside line of Redgate. So it's dust being kicked up all over the place. Matt Richards trying to get further inside the top 10, and he's on the back of Willis, or as they're making their way up towards McLean, side by side. Can the Civic get the drive that he needs? Oh no, bit of a punch in the face there for Willis. Manages to catch it before catapulting into the wall. Oh, Struth, but that's allowed, so that's broken his momentum. That's allowed the second of the Vapor Shields through. That is Richardson that has got through into 10th position. A bit brutish there from Matt Richards, but no, at least we didn't see exit stays left from the Drake entry.
That was probably the best outcome of what just happened there. Luckily, all drivers were able to stay in one piece here, but we do see now Luke Mitchell trying to put a tiny bit of pressure on, not TCUK, but sorry, that's one of the quartermaster cars, which is going to be Adam Christopher, currently in P2. This is going to be currently the highest scoring I think we've ever seen for a quartermaster car so far, currently in P2. I believe the highest we've seen is P3 for the quartermaster team, and I believe that was Spooner back in, I think it was Croft actually, which is brilliant to see the quartermaster cars still representing their pace there, as we can see now going down through into the very, very nice section of Sector 2 as we go into the old hairpin. Now we do see Mitchell starting to lose a tiny bit of time here. Again, the quartermaster car of Christopher has to do anything to try to defend, but he also wants to try and put the pedal to the metal a tiny bit to try and just gain a tiny bit of a breathing space here, as he can, well, we can see going through Sector 2, he was able to do here, but we do see Luke Mitchell again going up into McLean's and copies is actually starting to gate on him here, and this again might be a case of going into the Fogarty S's, and it might be a side-by-side going in already, but it looks like already Luke Mitchell has the momentum as they go side-by-side, and it's going to be an easy move there for Luke Mitchell, but will we see any sort of retaliation here from Adam Christopher?
He went a bit hot there into the Fogarty S's. Did Mitchell manages to catch it before the tail completely let go on him? But he's on the option tyre and he's using his tyre advantage quite nicely. We cut a little bit further back in the field. Mitch Marie now in 13th position on the back of the Brabham Toyota of Cedo Via. They're now coming down into the Melbourne hairpin. Right behind Mitch Marie is Callum Wilson and then Jeff Fournier. Jeff Fournier started right at the back in the RSI BMW, so he's made some good progress in the early stages of the race. We're already fast approaching halfway in this first race of the night. Callum Brewster getting his name on the fastest lap board. He's in 7th position for Drake. Nicely done indeed. So he carries on along his merry way. He's got about half a second to close in on Tom O'Leary to try and challenge for 6th position. There he is. So just coming down through the old hairpin now. Very, very easy to go too deep through the old hairpin, and you carry such momentum. If you're lucky, you can get back onto the track without losing too much time, and it's really, really bumpy when you go on the grass down there, so you do not want to be flirting with the grass at all. Big slide there coming through McLean's for Cameron Brewster. Now, one of the hardest turns in British circuit racing is Coppice. You're very, very blind as you're going towards the apex. You just have to hope that your muscle memory is good. Gianmarco Fiducci all over the back of Dan Herlock. You saw Dan Herlock try a little bit indecisive there. Was he going to try and defend the line or stick to the racing line? He stuck to the racing line eventually. Gianmarco Fiducci just putting on the pressure, trying to force that mistake from our championship leader. But right behind him is Tom O'Leary. So it's a Beamer Brigade, 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment.
This is brilliant racing so far, but again, we did see Fiducci with quite a cheeky little dummy move there on Herlock, which Herlock did fall for going into the Fogarty S's, but it does seem it's actually affected Fiducci more than Herlock here, as we can see now Fiducci is under more pressure than he is putting pressure on Herlock here, as we do see Thomas O'Leary right behind him, as we do see the slipstream. It's going to be quite effective around this track. Obviously, these cars being such a boxy shape will provide quite an easy draft for some of these cars to follow, but again, we're not on the biggest circuit in terms of straights here, so the straights are going to be quite appreciated for some of these drivers. As TCUK, but now has a tiny bit of a moment. They're trying to go on what is going to be Richardson's car, but I believe Callum Cripps was just able to get by TCUK there. But again, TCUK is going to be quite a resilient driver and tries to retaliate at any given moment.
That was well caught there by Ty Cuthbert, as Jeff Fournier again gets the slide on in that RSR BMW through Old Hairpin, now through Starkey's Bridge, Schwann's Curve up towards McLean's. He is piling the pressure on Mitch Marie for that 13th position. Big slide right behind him from Callum Wilson, and that's Mitch Marie gone too deep through McLean's. That's an easy pass then for the RSR BMW up into 13th position, gets the line right through Coppice, and now he's going to try and close in on Cedo Via, riding on board with Luke Mitchell, who's closed back in on Tom Hackett. Now Luke Mitchell, I believe, is running the option tyre. He is indeed. So I think Tom Hackett is not running the option tyre. Oh no, beg your pardon, yes he is. So both, no, sorry, I was right first time. Hang on, let me get this right.
Yeah, Hackett's on the primes.
Hackett is on the prime, yeah, so my old eyes. So Hackett doesn't have the tyre advantage here. Mitch Marie does. So he's trying to work his way back past the CRS X-Card Esports car. But as yet, not find a way through. Gianmarco Fiducci now with the fastest lap of the race. They're not improving necessarily by huge amounts each time. As the fuel load burns off, cars do get a little bit lighter and the tyres do still bite just as well, so far at least. Luke Mitchell will want to get on with this because he's not going to have the tyre advantage for too much longer.
It seems Luke has definitely preserved his tyres over the past few laps to try and make them go a tiny bit further than what they would usually do on those soft tyre shows. We can see he's still all over the rear of Hackett here as he looks to go for a move there going in. So McLeanshire isn't going to go for it just yet, as again, he just has to wait for any given opportunity here. He doesn't want to attack his tyres a lot, as you can see him going through the outside of Coppas there. That is going to use his tyres a significant more amount than what it would be taking the regular racing line through there. But we do see now going into the Fogarty S's once again, it is still going to be Hackett still ahead, but this is going to be a brilliant opportunity to overtake here going into the Melbourne hairpin, as it does seem he's going to take it as he goes for the inside line. It's going to be a brilliant move there from Mitchell for the lead here as he's able to take the lead, but we will see retaliation here from Hackett in the next few corners or so.
Nicely done from Luke Mitchell. He committed. I did wonder whether he was going to second guess himself, but he stuck to it, got the car perfectly parked on the apex and broke the momentum that Tom Hackett had. So Luke Mitchell back up into the lead there. Bearing in mind, he's our pole starter for this race. Also, I noticed Gianmarco Fiducci has gotten ahead of Dan Hurlock, and Dan Hurlock's under pressure again from Tom O'Leary. This is the last thing that the championship leader needs. He does not want more people challenging him. But Tom O'Leary now side by side with the championship leader. That is so close, going down through Hollywood, through the Craner curves. That Dan Hurlock has just about managed to get the overlap and back up into 5th position, but that's going to drop him off the back of Gianmarco Fiducci, who now has an opportunity to attack Adam Christopher for the podium spots.
Brilliant racing so far. Hurlock again doesn't need to be at those top spots like the podium positions, for example, but again he still wants to be able to score points, because obviously if the inevitable happens of maybe missing around due to a technical issue or anything unpredictable like that, he wants to have that safe space between him and P2 in that championship, because it's only now 3 rounds left, including Donington Park that we're currently at. So any point will count here. So Daniel Hurlock will fight for these positions. He's not going to make it easy, and he wants to try and catch back up with Fiducci here. This is an ideal case for Fiducci here, as we can see both drivers ahead of him are battling, as well as the drivers behind him. So he's going to be able to drive away from the drivers behind and actually put a tiny bit of pressure here on Hackett, as Hackett's gone down to unfortunately P3 so far. As we do see, it's going to be a Cooper 1-2 so far. It's going to be Mitchell in P1 and Christopher in P2.
Adam Christopher is also running his option tyres in this round. So Gianmarco Fiducci then is looking at the back of now Tom Hackett. 5 laps to go. That's it's amazing how quickly the lap count disappears. But now that is Luke Mitchell that is stretching his advantage. Oh, the Vapor Shield boys are at it again. Richards and Richardson. So it is Richards ahead of Richardson at the moment. Jordan Richardson is flirting with the grass on the outside of Redgate. Doesn't usually work well for race cars. Got away with it on this occasion. Well, team orders or not, they are going for it and having a lot of fun. That is for 9th position they are arguing for at the moment. Slightly further back, Jeff Fournier now up into 12th position on the back of Willis then. So can Ben Willis in the Drake number 85 hold him back? I don't think he's going to. The RSR car's got the inside line. Coming up the hill through Starkey's Bridge and Swans Cove. Big slide. Nicely done. It's not quick. Very stylish for Jeff Fournier. Because of the slide, he's going to have to surrender that 11th position. Or is he? He's got a decent exit out of Coppice, though. They're side by side as they come onto Starkey Straight once again. Can the BMW get it back up ahead? Oh, yes, he can. Oh, me of little faith. Jeff Fournier back up into 11th.
What a brilliant retaliation to try and maintain his position at P11 there, even after his not so efficient drift there. But obviously that wouldn't have been intentional, as it does seem those 3 Series BMWs are quite loose just general around any of these tracks. Very oversteery kind of car here, but we do see Tom Hackett down into P5 here. So definitely he's starting to feel it already. I'm not sure what's really happened here because he is on those harder tyres here as he goes side by side here. With Herlock, there's going to be contact between the two, and luckily all cars stay in the same shape, but he's going to be side by side once again with Thomas O'Leary as Thomas O'Leary goes for the inside line going into what is going to be now, I forgot where I am, in the crane of curves and into the old hairpin, as he does unfortunately lose that position, goes down into P6.
In fairness to Tom Hackett, all 5 cars ahead of him are on the option tyres, so he is the lead prime tyre runner still at this point, and right behind him is Cameron Brewster. We cut back to Cedar Vire, down to 15th position now, with who's already ahead of us, Callum Wilson in the RSR BMW that has just knocked the Brabham Esports car down another. It's all getting a good old slide through McLean's and kicking up a fair amount of dust. Whilst at it, there goes Callum Wilson on the inside of Mitch Marie, and Cedar Vire trying to make Mitch Marie's days even worse. And right behind them, Callum Cripps is trying to make Mitch Marie's day even worse. But Mitch Marie's lost 2, has just about managed to fend off the next of the Richardson Co BMWs to keep him in 16th for now. But yeah, that's how, with the field this close and this competitive, one small mistake is all that's needed and you lose several positions.
Indeed, we did actually see that example, ironically, from Callum Cripps, who's trying his very, very best to get back up in the order as he's now trying to put pressure on Mitch Marie, as you was just saying now, as Thomas O'Leary once again trying to put a tiny bit of pressure there on our championship leader, which is going to be Mr. Herlock here. So they go side by side going into Redgate. Again, Thomas O'Leary is going to have the outside line, so it's not going to be as efficient compared to Herlock's line, as Herlock's still going to be able to preserve his speed and momentum as he goes down into what is going to be the crane curves and into the old hairpin now. And again, Thomas O'Leary still not going to be able to get past just yet, but we still have 3 laps of racing left to commence, and we will see if Herlock will be able to preserve for that long. But it looks like he's going to try go for a move here going into what is going to be the curve, as we do see now it's still not going to work there, as Thomas O'Leary just have to lurk behind while Herlock is just trying to defend for his life here.
Indeed, so doing a great job of defending against the ever-persistent Tom O'Leary. As we see in the background, that is Hackett. That is now been thrown into the clutches of Cameron Brewster. So can the drag racing number 7, again a big old slide there, can the 7th place Cameron Brewster do anything about it? As again Tom O'Leary has another go at Dan Herlock, as we cut back to Matt Richards having a go at 8th position. Is he? Yes, he is, from Scott Mitchell-Malm. He's got the overlap. He's got the Civic nosed ahead, but hasn't got the move done yet. The Ford is still there and tries to get the inside line, coming through Goddard's. Just about. The Civic's still having to go, though. They're still side by side as they're coming down towards Redgate again. The Civic has a better exit and claims the position. That's Matt Richards up into 8th.
Brilliant. As we go on to the penultimate lap now, as we do see now Fiducci in P3 trying to put a tiny bit of pressure here on the quartermaster car. This is the battle I didn't think I would see, actually. Both sections of the grid, you can see, as we do see now the quartermaster car currently in the highest position I believe he has ever been in this championship so far, and I hope for the best currently for the quartermaster car, as we do see now Fiducci putting all of the pressure he can onto Christopher here as we do go on into the copper section here. As we do see it's going to go side by side. Fiducci's going to force the inside line, and Christopher had absolutely no chance there, or he was just trying to back off a tiny bit because he's still in a brilliant position of P3 here.
I think Fiducci just had the better exit. Adam McLean's got the overlap, and Adam Christopher realised it was too late to try and shut the door with only 1 racing lap to go. Oh, wow, that's a very bouncy Adam Christopher coming through the Fogarty S's there. So the quartermaster car very much not enjoying that particular sequence of corners. Through the Melbourne hairpin, they come from the penultimate time. Good exit from that corner for the Italian, as now the second of the Vapor Shield Civics, Jordan Richardson, trying to make Scott Mitchell-Malm's day even worse. Runs a tiny bit deep on the exit of the Melbourne hairpin, but is fended back into 10th position. He has not been able to get the move that his teammate did a lap ago. So final lap of this first race here in Donington Park, and Jordan Richardson only has another few kilometres to try and get up into 9th.
He is definitely trying his hardest so far, as we do see there's going to be a car going wide there going into Redgate there, but luckily is able to maintain his car in the straight line, as we do see now Thomas O'Leary once again putting so much pressure on Herlock here, but obviously a championship leader so far, you would expect him to be able to withstand pressure here, which he's doing like an absolute champion, literally. As we can see, he is going down into what is going to be the curve now, as we do see Thomas O'Leary just going a tiny bit sideways there. Herlock is trying his best now to defend here, just a few more corners until Herlock could be crowned P4 during the first race of tonight. As we do see now Thomas O'Leary will have the slipstream as he goes up into the Fogarty S's. No, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them going side by side, but it looks like Thomas O'Leary doesn't get as good as an exit as Herlock going out of Cop Ice there, as we do go through the Fogarty S's. This is one of the more challenging corners, as we do see it's the fastest, one of the fastest corners as well. So they go side by side. Thomas O'Leary having the outside line into the Melbourne curve here, as we do see it now is going to be again Thomas O'Leary just trying to place his car on the outside, tried to do a tiny bit of a switch back there, but Luke Mitchell comes through Goddard for the final time of race 1 here in the Drake Racing Cupra to be crowned victory here for race 1 here of round 8 at Donington Park, followed then by Fiducci and Christopher rounding out your top 3.
Indeed. So who won out between Tom O'Leary and Dan Herlock? Dan Herlock did by a 1/10 of a second. That's about the time it takes to blink. Hackett comes home 6th, Brewster 7th. Cars just streaming over the line now in various battles, but I mean, you can't take that away from Luke Mitchell. I believe his first ever win in the touring car series, either present or previous series, as Alan Smith is still having an argument. Actually looked like he relinquished that position to Max Spooner there. So I mean, this is technically for wooden spoon avoidance, as Mitch Marie is a DNF at the moment, but Alan Smith maybe was a little bit too bold with the move earlier on in the lap. Allowed Max Spooner up into 22nd position. So right the way down the field, some excellent racing. That is the way to start festivities at Donington Park. But Luke Mitchell, I bet he is very, very happy with that.
I just saw one of the other drag racing cars spinning it, going in to what would have been the curve, but brilliant racing from the first race so far. And currently, it's still looking quite dodgy for Herlock. He's still being able to provide that P4, which is definitely going to contribute to his points towards the championship. But again, it still might be possible if Herlock were to unfortunately have some issues going into the next 2 rounds, that he could lose the championship. So it's still very, very difficult to decide who could be the championship leader so far. But again, I'm quite impressed with a few of the drivers on the grid here for tonight, especially the quarter mass cars. Like Christopher, for example, being able to take it home in what is going to be P3. But looking at the orders now, Luke Mitchell in the Drake Racing Cupra taking P1, followed there by Gianmarco Fiducci there in P2 for the Veloce Esports car. Adam Christopher in the Quartermass car is going to be in P3, Daniel Herlock P4, Thomas O'Leary P5, Tom Hackett P6, Cameron Brewster P7, Matt Richards P8, Jordan Richardson P9, Scott Mitchell running out the top 10 there as we go on to the next year's here. As we can see, it's going to be Jeffrey Fournier in the RSR BMW coming home in P11, followed by Ben Willis in the Cupra in P12, as well as Cedo Wire in the Brabham Motorsport car in P13. Callum Wilson there in the Richard Co Racing car, P14, followed then by Callum Cripps in the other Richard Co Racing car in P15. Matty Allington P16, Jack London P17, Ty Cuthbert P18, Patello P19, George Davis, who I don't think we saw that much during the race at all, P20, rounding out the rest of the grid here. I believe only 6 or so cars left to go. 4 cars, I will be corrected there. Samuel Dowman, P21, Max Spooner, P22, Alan Smith, P23, and unfortunately only 1 car though DNFing from the race, which is going to be Mitch Marie, unfortunately there.
Adam Christopher declaring that's his first podium, and a worthy podium it was, in fairness. Was challenging early on for the lead, and then losing out that second spot to Gianmarco Fiducci is nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever. So fair play to you. We get to see some support in the chat. We see lots of calls for calamity. Nicely done, Godspeed, Jack Williams. Excellent stuff. So it's always good to see people from across the world. somebody saying they're watching from Mexico. I mean, it's truth. That is quite some distance to be watching from.
I think I know who that's going to be for. That's going to be a Ty Cuthbert supporter. Ty Cuthbert, again, Mexican heritage driver, currently living in the UK. Good friend of mine as well. And a quick message as well to his grandma, who just turned, I believe he was 87 on the weekend. So very happy birthday, who I know is actually watching right now. So happy birthday to you.
Yes, happy birthday, Ty Cuthbert's gran. Also, my good lady watching from South Africa as well. So, yes, we do have an international audience. Bringing out the rear with pride, just spotted there. Better than Notts County. Now, come on. Let's not bring football into this. It's always going to happen, isn't it? Yeah, someone's going to have to do it. So then, the way the grid is formed for race number 2, for those may not be too familiar with the format, is simply the race results from what we have just seen. But of course, different drivers are now going to be running their option tyres. So let's have a run through of who is running the softer compound this time. So that is going to be Cedo Via, Mitch Marie, Scott Mitchell-Malm, Matty Allington, Jack London, Max Spooner, Callum Cripps, Joel Botello, Ben Willis, and Alan Smith are the drivers that have elected race number 2 to have their option tyres run on. Now, race 3 is going to be done from a random reverse grid element. So anywhere a random number between 6 and 12 is drawn by the production crew behind the scenes. That'll be done after race 2, and whatever number is chosen, it's that many of the top 12 that are reversed. So if 6 gets chosen, the top 6 get reversed. If 9 gets chosen, the top 9 gets reversed, so on and so forth. So that'll be the case for race number 3. And I'm watching from T4 at Brands. I suspect it's fairly dark. I'm sure it's fairly dark and cold up there right now, so I would be surprised if you were watching from the Brands Hatch itself. But I mean, hey, stranger things have happened. Let's be honest. T4 would be
the viewing spot.
Well, yeah, we Graham Hill Bend if I know the turn numbers properly. Love Brands, and we will be heading there for our final round of the season at the end of this month. Brands is a brilliant track, which again sounds like a broken record because I'm sure I've said every track we've done has been a brilliant track, but then that's just every track is brilliant in touring cars. Touring cars is a great category to commentate over.
Oh, it so is. And I've got my first original question, which I hope I haven't asked during the previous round, which I probably have. I've probably got the memory.
Well, ask it and I'll tell you.
In race 1, driver of the round, who would you pick?
Oh, driver of race 1. Good question. There's several potential candidates there. Again, comparing to it was a good performance from Luke Mitchell. He started from pole, so you could kind of argue he was expected to do well. I'd say, you know what, I'm going to go Adam Christopher because he really did make Gianmarco Fiducci work quite hard to get past him. So I would vote Adam Christopher there for the quartermass.
I would have said the same thing. Good to see some more support in chat. Toto Hammer, a good friend of Ty Cuff, but good to see you in chat, mate. Hope all is well with you. But now we are just moments away now from race 2 to be commencing here as we wait for the grid to formulate here. Race 3 obviously providing some of the best racing that you'll see in this channel usually, as it's always quite chaotic. We've mentioned this probably every round now, but it's always so chaotic usually. It's just bringing the best racing. We've seen 4 wide at places where 4 wide shouldn't exist, and it's just great fun.
It is indeed. You're absolutely right. Glad that my chassis has been put to good use, says Phil Morby. Yes, Phil, your chassis was used pretty well. I believe it is that car, it's Phil's car that Luke Mitchell is in. So, yes, I would say he did pretty well. But it's going to be an interesting turn of events then on mixing up the tyre allocations. We saw how well some people were able to use those option tyre in race 1. So we'll see if mixing that up a little bit is going to shake up the order for race number 2, or whether people burn their tyres out a little bit too quick trying to make their way through the field. Only time will tell. So we're just waiting then for all the drivers to be in and ready to go. Matty Allington had to do some fuel saving there, so that somewhat dampened his spirit, shall we say. Great shame, but again, nature of the beast. They do decide how hard to run the car and how light to run it because of the play chicken with the fuel gauge. The fuel gauge does tend to win. Indeed.
So, in terms of Donington, obviously, you've been lucky enough to commentate on it, I believe, twice now. We were talking in the production room just before the festivities began. In terms of the best racing series that you've commentated on, not just Donington at all, that was just to make the question related. What do you think your favourite round was? What track and what series was it?
Oh my God, that is...
I love putting you on the spot.
That is in fairness, I have worked at Donington. I haven't commentated at Donington yet. I've presented. I was part of the National Legends coverage when they did Donington a couple of years ago. They are brilliant. Motorcycle engine, high screaming motorcycle engines in small 1950s Ford-esque chassis. They weigh about as much as a damp flannel, and they're awesome. They're single spec series. Single spec series can very often be some of the best racing you'll see, as it's the driver, it's the fleshy bit behind the wheel that makes the biggest difference. That said, I was at Snetterton over the weekend and had an absolute blast with all the various series from classic machinery from 60s MGBs, midgets, sprites, and what have you, right the way up to, I kid you not, Lamborghini Super Trofeos were in the Slick series alongside Ginetta G50s. You can imagine how much I enjoyed that. But that's enough of the waffle now, as we have got our rolling lap going for race number 2. So Luke Mitchell will lead the field away. It'll be Gianmarco Fiducci that joins him on the front row. So it is Drake alongside Veloce. So then Adam Christopher in third, and championship leader Dan Herlock on the second row. So that's Quartermass and RSR, row 2. Then it's Tom O'Leary and Tom Hackett will have row 3. Cameron Brewster and Richards will have row 4. Jordan Richardson alongside Scott Mitchell-Malm on row 5. Jeff Fournier and Ben Willis on row 6. Cedar Vire and Callum Wilson will have row 7. Callum Cripps and Matty Allington on row 8. Jack London and Ty Cuthbert row 9, with Joel Botello and Davies on row 10. Sam Dam and Max Spooner on row 11, with Smith and Mitch Murray at the back of the field. So then we saw plenty of racing throughout the entire field last time around. Let's see if those on the softer tyres can make an impression and improve on their position this time.
Indeed. So just trying to look now at the tyre allocation page to see what Fiducci's taking. And it seems Fiducci is going to be on the prime tyres, as he's already used his option tyres in the first race. So this is going to be a bit more interesting. Obviously, Mitchell as well, I believe, used his option tyres as well, because I believe the top 5 were all option users. So this is going to make it a bit more interesting for some of the bottom runners from like P6 onwards, that will probably have a better option, well, literally a better option at winning this race with the softer tyres, because the soft tyres proved me very, very wrong in terms of my tyre prediction today. I did not think they would perform as well, but it seems my theories, I need to stop making them because they've never been right.
We got caught out last time we've done it because we both said that the option tyre would burn out too quick. and no one did. Or it didn't look like it anyway. Everyone hit it very well if that was the case. Right, so the field then just coming out of Goddard's. Starting to form up. So Luke Mitchell alongside Gianmarco Fiducci. A very unenviable position for Luke Mitchell, to be honest. And then it is Adam Christopher and Dan Herlock on row 2. So who is going to be bravest on the brakes? Who is going to have the best start for our second race here at Donington Park GP, round number 8 of the championship? Let us see then as we get ready to go racing for the second time tonight. Fair amount of fidgeting going on. Everyone getting ready to rumble. Wait for it. Imagine the drivers getting a bit antsy. You can see a few cars getting a bit fidgety, and away we go for the second time tonight. A absolutely stunning start from Gianmarco Fiducci. Again, Luke Mitchell bogging down a little bit off the line. He's going to try and have a look on the inside, but Gianmarco Fiducci's already got the overlap. Dan Herlock, oh, he's got a bit of a slide out of the RSR BMW. That's going to cost him positions, as that, I think, was Cedo Fire that was going off into the dust, but no harm, no foul, or we couldn't quite see it if it was the case. Lots of side-by-sides going on. That's one of the Vapor Shield Civics having a go. There's Matt Richards having a go at Dan Herlock. Bit of a bump there between the two. Sends the BMW onto the dust. Is going to lose him another couple of positions as that is, I think it's Herlock, Dan Herlock losing out down to 8th place from Tom Hackett and Jordan Richardson. Not ideal for him. Still lots of side-by-sides going on. So we've had a few bumps and scrapes, but everybody has lived to survive another day.
There was a few victims of the kitty litter going into the crane and curves and into the old hairpin. I did see at the back of the pack. So we do see, unfortunately, a few drivers have lost a lot more opportunity than they would have, but hopefully they can make it back, as we do now see Adam Christopher all over the rear of Mitchell here as we go down into the Melbourne hairpin. Once again, he goes side by side, gets the inside line. Brilliant move here as we do see the Richard Co car also trying to go a bit of a forceful move, to say the least. That's probably going to be a bit of a Stewart's quotation, to say the least. As we do say, there's still going to be side by side here. Can he preserve his position or not? As we do see, he's going to have the inside line here, Christopher, compared to what we're going to see with Tom O'Leary. But Tom O'Leary is not going to be able to face it. It's now, again, he got a tiny bit too greedy there. Tom O'Leary is now, he's going to have to face Richards in the Vapor Shield Honda there. As we do see, that's a car up. Is that a car upside? No, that's an advertising board for, I think a car just hit an yeah.
Oh, Jack
London.
That is indeed an advertising board that is deposited in the middle of the road, but Jack London, the Calamity Ford, has come to rest. Also, Joel Patello is retired from the race, so unfortunately the Ford and the Vauxhall looked like they came together, or at least had an incident at the same spot. That's 2 victims just in the opening lap of the race. But looking at Tom Hackett in 6th position, he's got pressure from behind from Jordan Richardson in the Vapor Shield Civic, and then right ahead of him is his prey of Tom O'Leary and the Richardson Co BMW. Slightly further back, Cedo Fire side by side with Cameron Brewster, trying to get inside the top 10, and look on the inside line of the pair of them. Wow, what a move there from the Richardson Co BMW, which is going to be, that's Callum Cripps, yeah, up inside the top 10, naming 2 positions just in a single corner and straight. Talk about opportunistic.
Oh, it's brilliant to see. Up to P10, Callum Cripps does go as he's trying to fight for the single-digit numbers now, as we do see now going further up in the grid, Adam Christopher being demoted into P4. He will try to retaliate here from what is going to be Matt Richards now, who is currently in P3, taking away from Christopher here. But again, he's actually trying to create a tiny bit of breathing space, as you should be, between drivers here, as we do see Fiducci getting the fastest lap time so far. Not going to be a representative lap time on what the times will be, as we do see there's going to be a side-by-side there between the RSR car and the car. I can't actually do it. It's going to be Scott Matchell Melm against the RSR car of what's to be Herlock. Herlock down into P9 so far. Not a brilliant start from him, to say the least, but still lots of racing left to go during race 2.
Oh, Scott Mitchell-Mount really struggled to slow the Ford down there. He was all kinds of twitchy getting into Redgate, but did manage to slow it down before heading into the dust. Now Dan Herlock being challenged on the outside line, coming up to Schwann's Curve. Wow, goodness me, that's Callum Cripps, who is on an absolute charge in the Richardson Co number 69. Now, it's is he running the option tire? He is. So he is using his tire advantage very, very early on, and is really climbing through the field quite well at this stage. Now, does that mean he's going to burn the best out of his tyres too quickly? We will have to wait to see. It's Adam Christopher under challenge by Matt Richards. Now, Matt Richards is not running the option tyres. Both of them giving each other a bit of a punch in the face as they're going side by side down to the Fogarty S's and down to the Melbourne hairpin. The quarter-mile car getting on the inside line. Now, Matt Richards gives Adam Christopher a bit of a boot up the backside. Now, Richard O'Leary and Gianmarco Fiducci has had a big problem. He's suddenly down into 5th position. He's had it off somewhere, or either by mistake or helped off. Well, he was half a second ahead of anybody else, so he must have just gone too deep somewhere. And suddenly, the Filocci Ace down outside the podium positions. Even he can make a mistake from time to time, and there's still side by side. Oh no, there's contact between the two BMWs. Fiducci had to really get out of it. That's going to cost him valuable momentum. That's a 5th position to Richardson. Only just manages to shut the door on Tom Hackett for 7th.
Fiducci is definitely going to start feeling quite frustrated here, probably overdriving the car a tiny bit compared to what he would usually be doing, as we can see again. Hackett now putting pressure on him behind. All he just needs to do is just maintain composure here and just try to look forward here, because he has the capabilities of P1. We've seen it many times onwards, but we do see now Hackett is still trying to look down the inside, going in to the copper section, now into McLean and into Coppice, as we do see now Fiducci is actually starting to create a tiny bit of breathing space between him and Hackett, but ahead of him Richardson in the Vapor Shield Honda there, we can see is going to be just trying to think ahead of himself right now, but again he just wants to try and get past what is going to be the BMW here. But we do see Matt Richards against the quarter-mass car of what is going to be Christopher as he goes side by side here. There's a tiny bit of rubbing between the two cars as we do go into the Melbourne hairpin once again, and we do see now it's going to be the BMW Thomas O'Leary versus Richards as we go into Goddard's once again, as we do see it's going to be a Honda having the inside line, so he's going to have an advantage here. They're going to get really close between each other, as we do see then it's all about the momentum here, who had the better exit. As we do see it might be Matt Richards here as they still go side by side going on to the next lap with 10 laps remaining. We do see now the quarter-mass car is going to have the advantage of the inside line going into Redgate and is able to maintain his position.
Oh, Fiducci now down into 8th position. His race is going from bad to worse. Started well at a stonking start off the line to gain the lead, but it is just going backwards from this point on, from that point onwards. So we look at Scott Mitchell-Mount with a whole sea of pressure behind him. You know, if he looks in his rearview mirrors, he's got a lot of headlights staring straight back at him. So he just needs to try and concentrate on Jordan Richardson directly ahead. This train being led by Adam Christopher. I bet he's feeling the pressure. But Luke Mitchell up front, absolutely running off. As that's a side-by-side there. That is Fiducci trying to get up alongside Tom Hackett. So that is 7th position he's challenging for. The Italian is going to lose out on this one. Is he going to lose out of further position? If you lose the momentum, sometimes you will lose another position. No, it does look like Alan Cripps could not quite capitalize on that in the Richardson Cohen BMW. Right behind them is Dan Herlock, who's fending off the advances of Cedo Via in the Brabham Toyota. Further up the field, lots and lots of side-by-sides going on.
Again, it looks like Herlock just was a bit suppressed there of his top speed and what his acceleration would have been. He had a tiny bit of a bump there with one of the Richardson Co BMWs, but we do see Fiducci in P8 now trying to make his moves as quickly as they can. With now 9 laps remaining, we can see now Fiducci just trying to get the slipstream here on Hackett to try and regain P7 here. He has dropped 8 positions since the start of this race. It's not been the greatest race for him. The same with Herlock, who's currently down in P10. Both of those drivers, both championship contenders, both losing so many positions since the start of this race. It might be a forgettable race for both of them, as we do see now Mitchell Mount going in to the Grinning Curves, as we do now see him being able to overtake him going into the old hairpin, going up into P4. But again, his redemption arc is still on, as we do see him now trying to get past Richards there in the Honda of the Vapor Shield. Going back on board now with Luke Mitchell as we go in to what is going to be the McLean section now, as we do see he's just got such a big gap between him and the car behind him. 3-second gap now as we're speaking, and positively inclining here as we go back on board now with Callum Cripps again against Fiducci. Fiducci wanted to try and get past, but still not going to help. This huge slipstream chain is again going to be quite vulnerable there for the quarter-mass car of Christopher in P2.
How much pressure must Adam Christopher be feeling? Does he realize just how many cars are breathing down his exhaust pipe? Matt Richards in the Vapor Shield Civic trying to have a go. The quartermaster car tries to defend the inside line. He's lost too much momentum. But behind that was Hackett. I think it was alongside one of the Richardson Co cars. That's Callum Cripps is trying to make a move. Jordan Richardson also side by side. Plenty of slidey ways going on. Gianmarco Fiducci is also in there. That's Tom Hackett. Is he losing out of position? Is he trying to defend? It's absolutely impossible to tell. There's so many side-by-sides going on. This is absolutely fantastic. But Adam Christopher has lost out on second position. Gosh, one wrong move, and this is all going to be a very, very big mess as Scott Mitchell-Malm dive bombs the inside of Redgate and claims third place from Adam Christopher.
Brilliant to see, as we do see now Scott Mitchell just having to try and defend from Christopher here, as Christopher wants to retaliate to try and regain P3 here to try and make it a double podium for himself here. But again, Scott Mitchell also wants that podium position, and even better, he might want to try and get that second place as well, as we can see now going further back into the grid. Ben Willis here in P14 now putting pressure here on what is going to be Fournier in the RSL car, who hasn't had the best of races for himself, unfortunately. As we do see, that's going to be one of the Drake Racing cars on the gravel there, and luckily he's able to keep it in the straight line and is able to recover it into P14.
It was Cameron Brewster that went too deep going into McLean, so he's lost out all that position. There's Ty Cuthbert. He's having to go with Mitch Marie, so the quartermaster and the Calamity car side by side. No, he can't get the overlap on this occasion. Goodness me, there's so much going on. Adam Christopher is, he's under pressure again. That's Tom O'Leary that gets the inside of the Melbourne hairpin and trying to drag his teammate through as well. Callum Cripps trying to follow the tyre tracks of his fellow Richardson Co BMW. Does he manage to do it? Yes, he does. So that's two positions lost in the blink of an eye for Adam Christopher. Gianmarco Fiducci gets an absolute face for a Civic. Oh no, and there's an accident there. So rolling back on circuit. Oh no, a huge impact there. So that's not Max Spooner, but it's Jordan. Yeah, it could well be. It is indeed. Oh, Ty Cuthbert. No. I just had nowhere to go. I mean, you never want to see a car just rolling onto circuit there. My goodness me, that's a big incident for Ty Cuthbert. That has taken him out of the race. Jordan Richardson as well, retiring. I'm sorry to say, but Jordan Richardson should have made an effort there to stop his car just rolling back onto a very, very busy field. So unfortunate, but yeah, that could have been avoided.
I'm very glad I didn't say it was a clean race up until now, because I would have jinxed everyone. So I will not be saying that, as we do now see going back into the grid, Ben Willis in P12, trying to put a tiny bit of pressure on the RSI car of Jeffrey Fournier, currently in P11 as well. As we do see Cedar Wire as well now looking to try and make a move on one of the other quartermaster cars who isn't in two pieces, as we do now see Christopher, who has not had the brilliant race he would have expected and wanted after starting in P2. As we do see, there's going to be a tiny bit of contact there between the Vapor Shield and Scott Mitchell-Malm, as this is actually going to require now Thomas O'Leary getting involved, as all three of these cars fighting for what is going to be the podium spot of P2 here, as we can see going down into Goddard's here once again. So we do see Scott Mitchell-Malm trying to go for the outside line, but it's not going to work, as we do see Tom O'Leary once again trying to intervene as they go side by side here, but it's again going to be Scott Mitchell-Malm versus what is going to be the Richards co-car of the BMW, as we do see Richards as well just trying to create a tiny bit of breathing space for them as they go side by side once again going into Redgate. He's going to have the outside line, but it's not going to work for himself just yet, as we do see Richards still able to maintain his position of P2.
Oh, Scott Mitchell-Malm's on an absolute mission. He's really hustling hard for further up the podium. It's right behind him. Callum Cripps wants to try and demote him out of those spots. As we look a little bit further downfield, Tom O'Leary on the back of Tom Hackett as well. Tom O'Leary with a bit of breathing space behind. So Adam Christopher now falling down to 7th position. And that's a side-by-side. That's Mitchell-Malm under pressure now from Callum Cripps. Good opportunistic move there from the Richardson Co BMW. He's got the Honda Civic as well. Oh, what a move, Callum Cripps. That actually wrong-foots the Vapor Shield Civic, and that allows Mitchell-Malm back up into the podium spots. There's still side-by-side. The move isn't done between the Ford and the Honda. The BMW is just kind of minding his own business as Matt Richards just barely manages to hold on to the podium spots. Now you can see Tom O'Leary having the door very firmly slammed in his face by Tom Hackett. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
This is just so unpredictable. Once again, we just have 5 laps of racing left to go, and we just see so many side-by-sides happening, and especially with the unfortunate incident with Ty Guthbert, you can never actually predict something like that to happen. Just again, unfortunately, 4 cars have DNF since the start of this race now, but we do see Scott Mitchell and Malm currently in P5, still trying to retaliate to try regain his positions back, as we actually do see Hackett and Richards now going side-by-side with each other, going into Redgate. They all are able to formulate a single file line here, but you see Fiducci once again going side-by-side here with Wyatt as they go side-by-side going into Redgate again. He's going to have the outside line, which is going to be too good for Fiducci there. Wyatt being able to get back in to P8 there. Fiducci not going to be too happy with himself for letting that move go so easily, but hopefully for Fiducci, he will be able to retaliate going back in, as we do see again one of the Richards Co BMWs further back in the grid there, which I believe is going to be I believe that's going to be Callum Wilson. Just starting to retaliate with one of the other drivers, as we can see as well. Scott Mitchell Malm against Tom O'Leary further up at the front of the grid as well, as we can see the quartermaster car going for a bit of a dive here, going into the McLean section, but isn't going to be able to make it stick just yet. Matt Richards in the Vapor Shield Racing Honda, even though it says Cooper on the screen I've just seen, as well as Cedar Wyatt now trying to eliminate as many positions ahead of him as he can to try get even more points as we go on to lap 11 soon.
God, Struth, just as we had in race 1, it is absolutely frantic, and just you daren't look away, you daren't blink for a moment, as that's again a big defensive moment there for Adam Christopher, trying to keep Cedar Wyatt right behind. But look how long this train is. Matty Allington trying to make a move for 13th position against Wilson, can't quite get it done, but still hustling all the same. That's Gianmarco Fiducci getting twisty under braking, coming up into Goddard, just about keeps his car on the straight and narrow. That BMW's always been loose. Every time we see it, it is twitching and shaking all over the place. But Luke Mitchell running off into the distance this time. Callan Cripps second, as Hackett is in third, as Cedar Wyatt gives a bit of an unceremonious shove to Adam Christopher coming through Redgate.
And on to lap 11 now. We will see there was actually a tiny bit of contact further up the road there, but luckily it does seem all cars still facing in the right way. A yellow sector 1 there. I assume it's going to be further up the road here, but we do see it's going to be Scott Mitchell Mann once again going side by side with Hackett, almost cutting him off there as he's able to go up into P3 here as we go into the old hairpin. Again, both cars still being able to keep each other in pretty much civil condition here, as we do see Wyatt as well going into the McLean section, being able to stay side by side there. But again, Fiducci trying again regain his position of P8 here, as Wyatt was taking it a few laps ago, as we do see him trying to go side by side here, but Wyatt has his focuses on the car ahead, which is going to be Christopher, who could actually be demoted into P8 in a minute if he's not careful. Just needs to try to defend as much as he can and not think of the cars ahead, but try to gain some sort of breathing space for himself.
Oh, that's a lock-up for the RSR BMW. Went to actually slide, but manages to be safe. Oh, no, that, however, is not ideal. That's Cameron Brewster. No, sorry, it's Ben Willis that's been spun, the drag racing effort. Oh, no, that is not ideal. It was just wrong place, wrong time. Just caught on the outside line on the exit of Melbourne Hairpin and nowhere to go. And sadly got spun round and out of that particular contention. This train still absolutely huge, as we look at Matty Allington now up into 14th position with Jeff Fournier right on his tail as he's tracing off after Cameron. I thought it was Cameron Brewster that got spun. I called the wrong drag entry there, but still working their way through the crater curves, looking a little bit further up now. Gianmarco Fiducci on the back of Adam Christopher, so not for the first time tonight these two have crossed swords. So Adam Christopher then faces that ever persistent, those eyes staring into his soul. He defends the inside line, coming up towards Coppers once more. Can he wrong foot the Italian? Can he break the momentum? Oh, the quartermaster car's got a little bit deep, left the door open for Gianmarco Fiducci. You never need to give him a second opportunity. Wasn't a good exit from Coppers, it looks like, for the quartermaster car. Now on the inside line, Dan Herlock's trying to gain a position, gets side by side. Oh no, 2 and 1 doesn't go, and that's going to send the quartermaster car exiting stage right. Oh, Adam Christopher, what started so well is now going to end in tragedy.
It's also going to affect his race 3 as well, we need to keep in mind. So it is going to be a very unfortunate day for the quartermaster cars. They were able to achieve 1 podium there, but unfortunately 2 of their drivers now ending in the barrier into race 2, and it's not going to be a brilliant start for race 3 either. They need to just try to put the pedal to the metal a tiny bit to just try and gain those positions back going into race 3. Even with that reverse grid effect, only affects the top 12 drivers, and unfortunately all of the quartermaster cars are now outside of the top 12. But we do now see Daniel Hurlock in P10. Again, not a brilliant race here from Daniel Hurlock compared to what we were expecting. Again, we are putting quite high expectations on some of the championship contender drivers because we do see them dominating the field sometimes. But we do see now Thomas O'Leary with looked like quite a battered car from the front of it, trying to put a tiny bit of pressure here on Tom Hackett in the Hyundai, as we do see it now going down into nearly the curve and going into the McLean sections as well. Thomas O'Leary is just on fire, able to decrease that gap quite significantly, just going into a few corners here, as we do see Matty Allington as well now trying to put a tiny bit of pressure on what is going to be, I believe, Brewster actually. Yeah, Brewster ahead in the other Drake Racing Cupra. Unfortunately, his teammate Ben Willis, I believe, has no, he's still running, just unfortunately quite far down after the incident that was occurring earlier into this race.
Indeed. So Matty Allington still trying to challenge for that 12th position from Cameron Brewster. Brewster going very early to that defensive posture, coming down into the braking zone for the Melbourne hairpin, and the Drake Racing entry just parks it on the apex, breaks the momentum of Matty Allington, so he can't challenge any further. But up front, Luke Mitchell still leads. That lead has come down, but we're on the final lap. It hasn't come down enough for him to feel any challenge. Callum Cripps in second. Cito Vaya gets the fastest lap of the race. With Scott Mitchell-Malm ready to try and get ahead of the Richardson Co BMW. He's really been on a storm. He is on the option tyre as well. Slightly further back, Tom Hackett in 4th, with Tom O'Leary 5th. Then it is Matt Richards 6th, Gianmarco Fiducci 7th, Cito Vaya 8th. With Wilson 9th and Hurlock in 10th, and Tom O'Leary's trying to wrong foot Tom Hackett as they're coming through through Starkey's Bridge. Then Schwantz now up to McLean's, but the BMW cannot do anything. Here's a Hyundai. That's Cameron Brewster that's going for a very, no, beg your pardon, Cameron Brewster was the one that survived. It was Matty Allington that is going for a very alternate route, shall we say, completely bypassing McLean's. He will have to surrender quite a few positions to avoid a penalty. But that's the nature of Donington. If it goes wrong, it tends to go very, very wrong, as it's such a high-speed circuit. But he does manage to rejoin the circuit without clambering into the side of anybody. Oh, look at Fiducci. He is almost pushing. That's Matt Richards along the road. It's right ahead of them, Hackett and O'Leary side by side once again. No particular opportunity there. Cito Vaya has a bit of a sniff. That is not going to yield anything, but your winner for race number 2 here in Donington Park is going to be Luke Mitchell for Drake Racing. He's quite keen on that. 2 for 2 for Luke Mitchell. Callum Cripps comes home 2nd. Scott Mitchell-Malm in 3rd. Side by side, Ken Fiducci claims 6th from Matt Richards. Not quite. Matt Richards holds on to 6th. Fiducci 7th. Vaya in 8th. Hurlock 9th, with Wilson rounding out the top 10. They're streaming over the line as they were in race 1. Wow, goodness me. We've got a feel for those that had a big spin earlier in the race. Alan Christopher, that is such a shame.
It's just, again, brilliant racing that we've seen here today, as always, as I think we're always expecting here, as we do see Fiducci taking a different line into the Kitty litter there, as we do see Fiducci. I believe that could have been a wheel disconnect actually for him, as it didn't seem he was actually responding to that at all. But we do see here, this does mean now going on to race 3, it is going to be the most chaotic race. Obviously, 5 of the drivers, unfortunately, today were classed as a DNF. But hopefully, even with the reverse grid effect that we're about to see going on to race 3, it shouldn't be too chaotic and provides brilliant racing. But hopefully now we will see the standings of race 2 come up on screen very, very shortly. This is obviously before steward interventions and everything like that, so this is where it's going to be. Luke Mitchell in P1 with the Drake Racing car, brilliant to see him. 2 for 2 there as well. Callum Cripps in P2, followed down by Scott Mitchell-Malm in P3, followed down by Tom Hackett in P4, Thomas O'Leary P5, Matt Richards P6, Gianmarco Fiducci P7, Cito Vaya P8, Daniel Hurlock P9, and then Callum Wilson rounding out the top 10 Then going on there, Mitch Murray in P11 in the Calamity Motorsport Cooper, followed then by Cameron Breezer in P12, Jeffrey Fournier P13 in the RSR BMW, followed then by Matty Allington in P14, Max Spooner P15, George Davis making quite a good improvement since his first race, P16, Alan Smith P17, Ben Willis P18, Adam Christopher P19, Samuel Dowman rounding out the top 20 there. As we go on to the final few, unfortunately all of these cars just retiring from the race. P21 Ty Cuthbert unfortunately retiring from the race after the humongous incident that we did see. Jordan Richardson as well in P22, Joel Botello in P23 also not finishing the race, and Jack London also not being able to finish the race in P24.
Yes, indeed, unfortunate. So what's going to happen now is behind the scenes is a random number will be chosen between 6 and 12. And whichever number is chosen, it is that number of grid slots that are reversed from the top 12 of the field. So drivers can't, play the numbers. They could gamble and hope that, finishing a particular position is going to yield. Say if someone aims to finish 12th and hopes that the top 12 gets reversed, but only 11 of them do, they're starting 12th. So playing that game is a little bit dangerous. So it's always better for drivers to be able to finish as best they can. I mean, the racing drivers, of course, are going to try and push on anyway. But it does add a bit of jeopardy. It is P6. So it is only the top 6 that are reversed on this occasion. So once the field is now formed, the top 6 from try the husbands again. So for the field to be formed, the top 6 will be reversed. So this is how they finished. So it'll be Matt Richards and Tom O'Leary on row 1, Tom Hackett and Scott Mitchell-Malm on row 2, Callum Cripps and Luke Mitchell will have row 3. I just spotted in chat. I would imagine Gianmarco Fiducci might be a bit aggrieved by that because he was 7th. But that is the nature of the beast. So it'd be Gianmarco Fiducci alongside Cito Vaya for row 4, and Dan Herlock and Callum Wilson will have row 5. And the rest of the field will start in the position which they finished the previous race.
So
now, interestingly,
I'm just chaotic though.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out. Sure. Now, I've just spotted in chat actually in the Discord for this series, the German Marco Fiducci is actually showing that the netcode may have well been responsible for part of the impact that happened between himself and the Vapor Shield Civic that was then sent off, which was Jordan Richardson. It can unfortunately happen. It is an unfortunate part of sim racing. Sometimes the netcode does act against you. Same as a technical issue can act against you in real life racing. It is the nature of the beast, but not anything we can do on this occasion. Has anyone at VMO ever won all 3 races in a single meeting? Not this season, certainly. They've come close. A couple of drivers have won the first 2, but not then rounded it off. We've had, I think, 3 instances of first, and second. Gianmarco Fiducci was the first one at Brands Hatch Indy, our opening round. Then Dan Herlock did it at Donington. Oh no, he wasn't second, so he was first, and then slightly further down. So that doesn't quite count. Let's see. Matt Richards did it at Oulton Park. Actually, it's only those 2 that have done first, second. We've had first, and something another couple of times. Dan Herlock has done that twice. Done a first, second, but that's only if you count Silverstone International and then Thruxton as the 2 wins back to back in the same meeting. No, we haven't had yet all 3 races won by the same driver this season. Can't speak for previous seasons, but certainly this time it hasn't happened yet. Could Luke Mitchell be the first to do it?
Well, we're running out of time to be able to actually attempt that, as we do see we only have 2 full rounds left, which is obviously going to be, I believe, what's next, Chris? I know the last round's Brands, but I completely forgot. Oh, Silverstone National next, isn't it?
It is. It's a very, very, very short track in Silverstone National, so that is going to be quite an interesting one. So there we go. There is the Canada. So after our third race of the night, we will head to Northamptonshire's finest, the home of British motorsport, of Silverstone, for the national layout. One of its shortest versions, only 6 turns in the Silverstone National. But trust me, the action will be just as hot and frantic as it has been at any other point in the season. And then to finish off 2 weeks after that, on the 30th of October, is going to be Brands Hatch GP, and that has seen some amazing racing. It's seen some amazing touring car racing in its lifetime as well. That particular version of Brands, I can't wait for that. That is going to be a brilliant, brilliant finale.
Indeed. So Brands Hatch being such a narrow track, it's going to be difficult for the drivers to be able to overtake in certain places. But again, these drivers have been able to do 4 wide again in places where 4 wide shouldn't be existing.
Not always successfully.
Yeah, not always successfully, but that's beside the point. They just have it's just extreme confidence, and they're just basically oblivious to the potential consequences that may come. To exactly here, we could see on the broadcast 3 wide in multiple places there, just oblivious of the risk that could happen if it all to go catastrophically.
Yes, indeed, very much so. Now, from a sim racing perspective, Donington has not proven very kind to me personally. What's been your experience sim racing wise from Donny?
It's my most successful track, actually, in terms of sim racing stuff.
It's really hit and miss for me. It's really, really hit and miss for me.
It's again a track that you just need to be, I guess, quite confident on. I don't know why I'm speaking of it, because I'm very much washed, and that's why I became a commentator to criticize other drivers that I will never be able to compete.
Says the 16-year-old. Oh, give it a rest.
15, actually. Calm down.
Oh, get out. I'm literally like almost 3 times your age, sir. Good grief.
Again, Fiducci, if you wanna race me, I'm sure I'll win.
Challenge laid out, right? Gianmarco Fiducci, you've got to step up now.
That'll be great content.
Whose car would you take if you were going up against Fiducci in his Veloci BMW? Whose car would you take over?
I'm gonna have to say the Richardson Co BMW, because it just first of all looks iconic, and I think the Beamer's probably one of the only cars, or maybe the Quartermaster Cupra, because obviously Cupra is just a brilliant looking car as well. So it's
no argument there.
Yeah, it depends. I've never really driven these cars at all. I was thinking more from an ACC's perspective, because I know how much of an alien Fiduci is in that game as well.
Where would you race him? Any track, British or not?
His least confident track, I guess.
Yeah, fair. You'd need as much of an advantage against someone like Gianmarco Fiduci, let's be honest.
Chris, I know you have a load of experience in the sim racing world, especially at Snetterton over the past few weeks. So, Tom production does not like Snetterton, the same with me, but it seems it's just Chris's favorite track. So I've seen you racing it on AMS too.
You did. So that would be
how did you find that?
I love Snetterton. I love racing at Snetterton, but what was I racing? I was racing GT4 machinery at Snet when you came in. With age comes great wisdom. I know who said that. That's my good lady that has said that. Adam and a mortgage and nursery fees on a job. That is the voice of experience. That is a man that knows. Yes, thank you, Phil Morby.
She was very targeted.
Yeah, you're never going to win the age argument. I was still getting over 15. What? So you were born in 2009?
8.
Good. 2008. Oh, Good God, you...
Technically. This happened twice now in the week, and I think it's my speciality of making people feel old, so you're welcome to everyone in chat.
My eldest was born about 18 months. He was born in 2010. So anyway, moving on.
Exactly.
Second meeting in a row. Oh, well spotted, production. So this is the second race meeting in a row that the reverse grid poll has gone to Matt Richards in the Vapor Shield Civic. Where did he finish last time then? He won it. Oh, so he won the final round at Snetterton. So is he running his option tie this time? No, he's already run his option tie. Let's have a quick rundown of who's running the option tie this time. George Davies, Chris Shepherd, Jack Nichols, Jordan Osborne's not here, Tom Hackett, Ty Cuthbert, Tom Mold's not here, and Callum Wilson. So that's surely going to be Callum, who's the lead car of the option runners. Oh, Hackett, no, beg your pardon. Yeah, good. I'm glad one of us is paying attention. Thank you, production. So yeah, Tom Hackett now in a really strong position, unless Luke Mitchell can really pull through and steal away the third win of the night. Last time he was 12th in round 2 and pulled out 12. Well, that is true. So we will see what Matt Richards is able to do. Is he going to be able to run off into the distance? Is Tom O'Leary for Richards & Co. going to make his day even worse? Or will the tyre advantage on Tom Hackett be what he needs to take his first win of the series? Bearing in mind that Tom Hackett and team, the Kings Racing team, only joined us from Croft onwards. So they haven't been in the season all the way through. And now really faces a very, very strong opportunity to take the top silverware. Yet to get a podium on the board as Tom Hackett. And Scott Mitchell-Malm actually right behind him. Would also very much like to get on with the job and take some silverware away. I don't think Scott's already run it. Yeah, Scott Mitchell-Malm has just run his option tires. So, yeah, all eyes, I think, or the expectation is going to be on the shoulders of Tom Hackett. Whoa, that's exuberant. That could have gone horribly wrong, Matt Richards. That if you had spun it there, you would have had no way to hide it.
Indeed. So we do now see the grid lining up, getting ready for the final race here at Donington Park here for round 8, as we do see all of them coming around the final bend of Goddard's to get ready to go racing here. As we do see, it's going to be Richard, followed then by Thomas O'Leary and Hackett, as we wait for the horn to be, I guess you could say it, extinguished, I guess you could say, with that. But we do see them now going, as we do see Richards already getting a brilliant start compared to Tom O'Leary, as he already goes instantly into the lead here, going into Redgate for the first time for race 3. As we do see, it's going to be Richard followed by O'Leary, followed by Hackett for so long. But we do see it's going to be Fiducci against what is going to be Callum Cripps, as we do see Fiducci going quite wide there, but a brilliant start so far from Fiducci. Hopefully he is able to maintain this, as we do see it's going to go side by side, going down into the corner curves, into the old hairpin. Here it's going to be Mitch Malm having the inside line, going into the hold hairpin, as we do see he's going to be able to preserve the position, but it's going to be him going in the grass, unfortunately, as that's going to be a car going off in the background there.
Yeah, we've had a fair amount of carnage and chaos. So Matty Allington was one of the cars that very dramatically exited stage right, coming down towards the old hairpin, but Tom Hackett all over the back of Tom O'Leary for second position. Matt Richards trying to run off into the distance. All kinds of chaos and carnage behind. Gianmarco Fiducci is out. Oh my, so we didn't really see what happened to the Veloci star, but at the moment, eyes on Tom Hackett for CRS. So trying to make his way past the ever big, well, the ever widening, must feel like the Richards & Co BMW. Goodness me. Oh, look how defensive that the RSR BMW of Dan Herlock's going against Scott Mitchell-Malm. That's forced Herlock a little bit too deep going through the Melbourne Hair, and you saw the BMW was really struggling to rotate without the tail letting go. They're still side by side. The BMW is going to have the inside line coming up into Goddard's. He does manage to maintain that 6th position. Scott Mitchell-Mount's going to have to try something else. Now towards the top once again. Tom Hackett drawing alongside Tom O'Leary. The Hyundai is going to have the inside line. Does manage to get that 2nd position away. That is 2nd to Tom Hackett.
Indeed, so do have a tiny bit of an update in terms of what happened with Matty Allington here. Apparently faced with a massive screen freeze, which unfortunately going into the end of the crated curves, but didn't take anyone out though, so that is very good. But unfortunately that's going to be him out of the race, unfortunately. But going back on board with the racing now, P13, the unlucky number you could say, Alan Smith currently in the Craven Racing Cooper, now under quite a bit of pressure now from behind from Max Spooner in the Quartermass Racing Cooper here, as we do see both of them are going to be battling it out going in now to the McLean section here. This is going to be where the overtaking opportunities are going to be quite present here, and going into the Fogarty S's as well, as we encounter them very, very soon after this very, very mini straight here. As we do see again, that's going to be what is, I believe, as well. It's like, yeah, it's going to be Mitch Marie ahead as well, just trying to put a tiny bit of pressure on Dan Herlock as well. Herlock hasn't had a brilliant start to this race either, currently in P7, but better than his previous race attempt here. Is he has a tiny bit of a lockup. It's going to go side by side between the two drivers here. Again, Herlock just trying to preserve his position of what is going to be P7, still able to preserve his position at P7, but for how long as we go into Goddard's. This is another brilliant overtaking opportunity if you have the inside line here, which we do see Cameron Brewster isn't going to be able to do. Luke Mitchell, on the other hand, getting the overspeed here compared to Callum Cripps in the Richardson Co cars. We go into Redgate once again, and we do see there's quite an isolated space between the two drivers in BTCC form anyway, as we can see now going into Hollywood and the crated curves. Quite isolated between the two drivers, and now go back on board with the battle for the lead here. Richards versus Hackett.
Yeah, Tom Hackett, he's managed to dispatch of Tom O'Leary to claim that 2nd position. He's all over the back of the race leader. Now, whether Matt Richards will realize that the tire advantage lies with the CRX S-Kart Hyundai behind him or not, he probably will kind of clock the fact that they do know the performance differences, and they do also realistically know who they expect to be up against. But Tom Hackett then could well he can afford to just bide his time. He's got himself 1.3 seconds between himself and Tom O'Leary in the Richardson Co BMW. Doesn't need to push too early, doesn't need to do anything silly to try and wrestle the lead away from Matt Richards, but he won't want to allow the Honda to back him into the clutches of Tom O'Leary in the BMW. So he needs to keep an eye on that. As we now look at this big group here, George Davies is right in the midst of a 3 wide coming through the Melbourne hairpin, trying to get past the trying to defend against the Quartermass car of Ty Cuthbert. Does manage to do so at the moment. Lots and lots of side-by-sides absolutely everywhere to be seen. Right behind George Davies, as Jack London and Ty Cuthbert arguing for 17th position. Side-by-side between our top two as we come through Redgate once again, and Matt Richards just about manages to hold on to the lead for now.
I've just had some quite big news in terms of Fiduci's next upcoming races. He is now officially out of the championship, basically. He's going to be missing next round and will probably be quite tentative for the final round. So this could be the last appearance for Fiduci in this championship here, which is going to be a tiny bit of a sigh of relief for Herlock. It just means he has less of a contender to again contend with. But we do now see Matt Richards once again under so much pressure from behind of Hackett in the Hyundai, as well as we can see Thomas O'Leary in the Richards & Co BMW. All 3 of these drivers in such a close proximity of one another as we go down into the Fogarty S's here, as we do now have to see if they're going to be able to come out in one piece. Yes, they are. Again, this is such a difficult corner to get right, because obviously that curb on the inside line, as we have seen in the past, can send you flying. As we do see they go side by side here again. Matt Richards having to try to defend his position going in to the Melbourne hairpin, being able to keep it on the inside line, and was able to preserve his position there.
Well defended there from Matt Richards, and again he goes for that defensive posture coming up towards Goddard's once again, and that's O'Leary that's now getting involved. This is not what Tom Hackett wanted. He did not want pressure from behind, and he hasn't had, he's had a decent enough exit from Goddard, but not any better than Richards, who glues himself to that inside line, defending against the side-by-side coming up into Redgate. Tom Hackett can't do anything about it, tries to get underneath Matt Richards, but can't get the momentum. Again, the Civic managing to get the traction where he needs it. It is Richards from Hackett from O'Leary, the top three, half a second separating those three. Then it is Cripps and Mitchell, less than a couple of seconds behind them, but there's a fair amount of cars that Mitchell is dragging with him. Matt Richards is defending with everything he's got. Here comes Tom O'Leary. Now the Civic will really want the BMW to get involved, and that's exactly what he's doing. Tom O'Leary gets side by side on the run up towards Coppice. He gets the overlap. He forces his way through to second position. Tom Hackett, he's going to have to work hard to try and regain that momentum.
It's been aggressive but clean racing from all of these three contenders for the podium here, or even the battle of the lead. You could see as we can go down to the battle for second place here, as we do see again Mitchell here in the Cooper just trying to put more pressure on Callum Cripps than ever, but we do also see again Mitchell mount behind under even more pressure from the RSR cut of Herlock as he goes for a huge move going into the Melbourne hairpin, locks up, but was able to make the move stick, which is more impressive to say the least.
I was convinced that was going to go horribly wrong, but Dan Herlock, how the hell he slowed that down. Look at him again. Absolutely sideways. He must be having a whale of a time. It's not the quickest way. It's certainly not the way to preserve your tires. But look at Richards. He has managed to get himself a good nearly seconds gap between himself and Tom Hackett. Tom O'Leary trying to find his way past the soft shod Hyundai ahead of him. Can't quite do it. Cooper from Hyundai from BMW, your top three at the moment. Bit of a gap between O'Leary and Cripps, the two Richards & Co BMWs. They're with Mitchell fifth, Herlock sixth, with a tiny bit of breathing space over Callum Wilson, who's got all kinds of pressure from Scott Mitchell-Malm, and then Cedar Vaya. It's Mitch Marie that rounds out the top 10 at the moment. Slightly further back, there's Jack London in between a pair of quarter-mast cars. So ahead of him is Max Spooner. Behind him is Ty Cuthbert. Ty Cuthbert, you can flash your lights all you like. Jack London is not paying any attention to you as they get so close, nearly hitting each other as they come up through McLean's once again. This week's round has been utterly bonkers. It's been brilliant. This is what touring cars is about. It's about really close, door-to-door, bumper-to-bumper racing. We have had a few spins, yes, but for the most part, it's been absolutely superb.
It's funny because we always say it here as we do see Ty Cuthbert as well. Now lunging down the entire, going into the Fogarty. Yes, it's a brilliant move there from him. They're now going up into P17 for himself, London down to P18. But what I was just saying that it's just, we say it every time to the point where people are going to start saying, well, like doing this faked and it's all AI, because we're always saying the same thing. But again, the bar of expectations of this racing series just keeps going up and up and up, and it never disappoints.
Very, very true indeed. As Tom Hackett has managed to break free of Tom O'Leary and is back on Matt Richards' case. So the duel for the lead between Richards and Hackett, between the Cupra and the Hyundai, has Cupra. No, see, you caught me out there. It's the Honda, isn't it? So yeah, between the Civic and the Hyundai has resumed between Vapor Shield and CRS. So Tom Hackett, bear in mind, he's got the tyre advantage. He has got time still. We have got half the race still to run. But again, Tom O'Leary is going to be dragging himself back into the podium 3 contention. And then everyone behind is not far away either. So the more these three fight, the more they're actually bringing more contenders into this lead battle. So it's Richard from Hackett from O'Leary, your top three.
Again, it's so unpredictable as we do see Matt Richards here not getting the best of lines there through the Fogarty S, as we did see Hackett catching up quite significantly there as we do go through into the Melbourne hairpin, where we've seen some brilliant moves happen here, and it might happen again as we do see Hackett all over the rear of Matt Richards here as we go on board now with Thomas O'Leary to get a perspective, as we do see a side-by-side start to formulate between the two leaders here, as we do now see Hackett still having to take the outside line going into Goddard. Doesn't usually work unless you're carrying so much more momentum than the driver into the inside line, as we do see now this is where the drivers are going to be Again, very vulnerable for Richards compared to what Hackett's going to be feeling here as we do go into Redgate here, and it's just so close because of that slipstream, as we do now see again Richards now just having to try cover up any potential overtaking opportunity here as we go down into Hollywood and the Crane Curves. As we do see going into the old hairpin, we do see Hackett trying to break a tiny bit later to try and gain some time there, or potentially side by side there between him and Richards, but doesn't work for himself just yet. As we go on into sector 2 here, not too many laps left to go. Time is ticking here for Hackett, so again he's going to become more and more impatient here. Speaking of battle here, we do see Cameron Brewson now going side by side here with one of the Fords, which is going to be Marie here, as we see that's yeah, that is a Ford, as both of them still being able to keep it civil between the two. Cameron Brewster still being able to hold it into the top 10.
Oh, Hackett's got the overlap and he's got the overspeed along Starkey Straight, and he has managed to claim the lead. He's wrestled that away from Matt Richards in the Vaporshed Civic, and immediately goes to that defensive posture as Matt Richards is trying to get the overlap, gets the impact, but that's going to force him very, very wide on the Melbourne hairpin. Not ideal, but he was a bit too desperate to try and attack back, and he's lost out on second position to Tom O'Leary as well. So the Richards & Co BMW up into second. It was a little bit too desperate, whether we missed the breaking point or whether we just tried to counterattack too early. Either way, that's dropped Matt Richards out of the lead. Now this is a perfect opportunity for Tom Hackett to try and run off into the distance. He's got himself a second gap already. There's further back, so this is more towards Wooden Spoon Avoidance. Jack London and Joel Beltow are just Botello are having their own scrap. I mean, that is for, like I say, Wooden Spoon Avoidance, but they're having a good old time nonetheless. Ty Cuthbert is on the back of Alan Smith, who goes a little bit too deep. So, but still pressing on nonetheless. So whether it's at the front or at the back, there is still arguing going on.
Brilliant to see Ty Cuthbert currently in P16, but we go back on board with Luke Mitchell as he's actually really close down to the car ahead of him, which is going to be the Richards & Co BMW here of Callum Cripps here. This is going to be battle for P4, as we can actually see as well. Richards, who probably should be quite thankful and grateful that he's still actually in those top contenders after what happened between him and Hackett a lap ago or so, as we do now see Luke Mitchell just trying to gain some time under braking here, going into the Fogarty S's. On to Callum Cripps, but nothing is seeming to happen just yet. We might see a move going into the Melbourne hairpin. No, we do not. That is usually where we do see most of the moves, as I say, as we do see now the RSR car of Herlock looking to try gain as many points as he can. Going back on board now with Ty Cuthbert in P14 as he goes side by side here with Smith here, as we do see them going side by side here. A bit of a fake move there from Ty Cuthbert. He goes for the outside line, reaches for it, tries to do a brilliant switchback there going into the Melbourne hairpin. Still formulating a side by side here is going to be the advantage point for Davies here, as he has the inside line going in to Goddard here. But can we see Ty Cuthbert being able to carry the momentum he might need? But it's going to be a tiny bit of door bashing between them. That's going to compromise both of their top speeds, but still side by side as we continue on to lap 10 here, as we do see now Ty Cuthbert going into Redgate, having the inside line compared to Davies here, and does look like he's going to have the move sticking here as Ty Cuthbert goes up into P13 for now. But we might see retaliation here from Davies going down into Hollywood and Crane Curves.
Well driven from both of them, just a slight tap on occasion between the two. Ty Cuthbert kicking up a bit of dust on the way down through the Crane Curves as we cut back to championship leader Dan Herlock trying to do something against Callum Wilson. He's just lost that 6th position, I think, to the Richards & Co BMW. Look at the group just ahead of them, though. That is a very tightly condensed. That's Callum Cripps on the back, a former race leader, Matt Richards. So the lead just slipping away from him at the moment. There was 5 laps to go when they crossed the line before. So with only 4 laps remaining, that may well be his last opportunity, as that is Mitchell. That's having a look on the inside line of Callum Cripps. That's a bold move on the inside line of the Melbourne hairpin. Is that going to put the Drake Racing number 21 up into 4th? It does for now, but Callum Cripps is still there. Still got the overlap and noses back up into 4th. So it was a bold effort there from Luke Mitchell. Didn't pay off. Trying to now counterattack on the exit of Goddard. He's got the momentum. He's had the corner exit, but can he get it done before Redgate? Not quite. Can't close the door. There's a BMW still there. They're still going at it, and they remain where they were.
Oh, brilliant racing to say the least. Still, as always, Callum Cripps still being able to preserve his position of P4 as we go down into the Crane Curves and the old hairpin. for the, I guess, now 4 laps left to go. So still not too much time here for Mitchell to get this move done. And now, obviously, time's ticking for these drivers. The drivers will become more impatient during the races progress. So their moves will become more optimistic and probably a bit more dirty, you could say, at points as well, as we do actually now see, I believe, one of the Richardson co-cars behind what is going to be Mitchell there, and Callum Wilson as well behind him as well as we do see Herlock as well in P7. It's currently a BMW sandwich, you could say, as we do see going down into the Fogarty S's for one of the final times of tonight, as we do see all of them taking it correctly. Who has the better overspeed out of it, though? It does seem that the Cupra is going to have the better overspeed out of it, as we do see now Mitchell lunging for the inside line going into the Melbourne hairpin. He has the inside line. It's going to be a big advantage point here for him, having the shallower part of the corner. As we do see, that's going to be one of the Richardson co-cars going a bit loose going into the exit of the Melbourne hairpin, as we do now see as well. Again, a tiny bit of retaliation there from what is going to be Cripps. It's going side by side there with Mitchell. They both go side by side, but again, it looks like Cripps is able to maintain his position at P4 still.
Wow, goodness me. And onto the grass, Luke Mitchell. My goodness me, determined to try and get the overlap once again. Now cuts underneath the Richardson BMW. They come together. Oh my goodness me, Dan Herlock, what is on? He's managed to get past Callum Cripps. Callum Cripps not happy about that. And then the side by side right behind them, that's Mitchell Malm and Wilson side by side coming down through the Craner curves. So Luke Mitchell up into 4th now, needed a bit of door banging to do it. Here comes Dan Herlock side by side with a now very determined Callum Cripps. Gets back up into 5th very briefly, but the RSI BMW not having that, slamming the door closed. With only 2.5 laps left to go, goodness me, this group could go absolutely any which way. Cedo Vire was on the back of the conga line. He could watch an absolute detonation happen right ahead of him.
Indeed, so just 6 cars here fighting for what will be P4 here, and again, every point counts into this championship, especially how deep we are into this series now, as we do now have to see, can Mitchell withstand the pressure of all 5 other cars behind him, as we actually do see there's going to be a tiny bit of retaliation here from Herlock. Herlock drifting the corner in style there. Again, he's done it twice now, as we do see it's still going to be side by side here, but Daniel Herlock being able to have the advantage point going into Goddard here, having the inside line, definitely going to help him here. But will we see any sort of retaliation here from Mitchell to try regain his position? He might try to go for a tiny bit of a switchback going into Redgate, but for now it's still side by side. But again, Daniel Herlock still having the inside line going into Redgate. Will we see a switchback here from Mr. Mitchell? He tries to do it, but we do see Daniel Herlock keeps the door closed there going into Redgate, and it does seem Daniel Herlock has taken P4 home.
How Dan Herlock hasn't turned himself into a lighthouse, I do not know. So Tom O'Leary has caught the back of Tom Hackett. Well, has the tyre advantage disappeared from the Hyundai? We are about to see he's now going to have to defend with everything he's got against that Richard & Co BMW. Tom O'Leary has taken 3 wins this season and a sprinkling of podiums. What has he got? So another 4 podiums on top of those 3 wins. Tom Hackett, as we say, joined us only a couple of rounds ago, would very much like to score his first podium to be the top step of it. Either way, it's still a pretty good performance, even if he gets on the podium at the moment. Tom O'Leary gets a bit loose on the exit of the Fogarty S's. Oh, that was a move there, but didn't quite come off. It's still Hackett from O'Leary.
Brilliant to see so far, but Thomas O'Leary getting sideways going into the exit of the Melbourne hairpin. As we do actually see now, it's going to be, again, Mitchell now trying to fight for his position back, as we do see Mitchell's being able to regain what is going to be P5, but for how long, as we might see him breaking a tiny bit later going into Goddard. Yes, we do. They got to go side by side between each other. A tiny bit of door rubbing. They both got to go flying, as we do see Callum Cripps is still going to be able to maintain the position, but for how long? No, Mitchell takes it at the end, as we also see now Mitchell, Malm. So many Mitchells here now as well, trying to intervene with this. Is now Callum Cripps goes down into P7 after Mitchell Malm takes P6, but it's not over yet, as well as Wyatt is now trying to attack the other Richardson co-car, which is going to be Callum Wilson here, as we go down into the Craner curves. Once again, only 1 lap left to go. This is where we just need to see Callum Wilson just defend as hard as he can and not even focus about the cars ahead, because obviously you don't want to crash into your teammate, but you also don't want to lose a position from behind.
Oh, and Alan Smith having a bit of a go at Max Spooner as well for 15th position. Right behind them is Jordan Richardson in the next of the Vapor Shield Civics, with Joel Botello a little bit off the back of them. But up front, it's still Tom Hackett from Tom O'Leary. The final time of asking, and a penalty for Mitchell Malm. That's unfortunate. That's likely a track limits penalty. But right now, is it going to be Tom Hackett for CRS? Is it going to be Tom O'Leary for Richardson Co? He's having a look at the inside, coming down towards the Melbourne hairpin. That's his last opportunity. Can he get it to stick? The big old BMW may well have done exactly what he needs to do when he needs to do it. Can he keep the door shut? Very, very robust defence. Tom Hackett tries around the outside. It's not realistically going to work. Has Tom O'Leary done it? Or has Tom Hackett got anything left in reserve? They're going to be side by side over the line by 800ths of a second. It's Tom O'Leary in the Richardson Co. BMW that takes the win from Tom Hackett. So close for Tom Hackett, but a well-deserved podium nonetheless. Oh my God. Matt Richards comes home in third under a wealth of pressure from behind as Alan Smith is having a go at Max Spooner for 15th. The Craven Racing entry is now being swamped by Quartermass as he's just about going to lose out. Oh, they come together over the line. But Max Spooner just about holds out Alan Smith in 15th. Richardson 16th. I think Mitchell Mount with that penalty has dropped right the way down to 17th. Whoa, my God. That was absolutely mad. My voice is dying, but what a way to go. That has been some of the most intense racing we have had all season.
I think I'm starting. I know Driver of the Round doesn't actually consist of anything championship-wise, but I was thinking of it coming into the second race already. And there's so many people who could actually be in the contender point for that for me. Tom O'Leary now being... completely earns that spot potentially for that as well after that. A brilliant finish there, but I'm sure he is definitely smirking about that. But we will now see the race 3 results before stewards interventions, because I know there are going to be a few steward inquiries to say the least after that. But again, Ty Cuppert in chat saying yes, what a race, brilliant race from you, P11. But we go on to see what the race finishing positions are going to be like. Thomas O'Leary in P1 in the Richardson Co Racing car just by mere fractions of a second. Tom Hackett in P2 in the Hyundai. Matt Richards in P3. Daniel Hurlock P4. Luke Mitchell P5. Scott Mitchell Mount P6, as well as Callum Wilson P7. Callum Cripps P7 as well. So I'm assuming they had a photo finish. What happened there? As well as Cito Wire P8 and then Jeffrey Fournier P10.
Yeah, it's all we can say to that. Yeah, we've got 2 cars listed in 10th position. Why not? Gabra Bruce being the other one. Kai, I can't even speak. Kai Tuthbert, we're going to go with that name as my tongue can't seem to say anything properly. For Quartermass in 12th, with George Davies and Jack London both registering as 13th. I think the tower has gotten a little upset by something. Max Spooner, followed by Alan Smith, by Jelton Richardson, Joel Botello, rounding out our finishers. Those we lost in the course of the race. Mitch Marie, we lost Adam Christopher for Quartermass, as long with Ben Willis, Gianmarco Fiducci, and Matty Allington having a big screen freeze early on. That's why he's so dramatically exited the race at Hollywood all the way down. Well, pretty much an old hairpin was where he came to rest. Oh, wow. That was absolutely phenomenal. And that's going to take some beating. It's going to take some beating. But that is going to be it for tonight's festivities. Thank you very much to those that have been with us through the stream, either live or post-event. Your company is always very, very welcome. Thank you very much to you, Alex Newman, for joining me in the commentary box. Always a pleasure, sir. And wow, we can just about catch our breath now.
Always a pleasure and never a chore working with you, Chris. Brilliant racing here tonight, and thank you very much everyone in chat for tuning in and supporting the channel. Just remember to like and subscribe to this channel as well, because I know it's quite low subscriber count for what it definitely should be. So just remember, if you're subscribed, and remember to like as well, because it boosts the algorithm.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Thank you very much, Tom Bryant, for being in charge of the cameras. We literally couldn't do it without you because we wouldn't be able to see. But a brilliant operation as always. And of course, thank you very much to our drivers for putting on, as always, an incredible show. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the penultimate round of the season. Can Dan Herlock maintain a hold on the top spot, or will he be challenged? Only one way to find out, and that's to join us in 2 weeks' time for round 9 at Silverstone National. Until then, thank you very much and good night!